Good morning and welcome, everyone. Welcome to another CEO information session hosted by the training division. Today we've got a guest speaker, which I'll introduce now in a second. But today we'll also be discussing the topic of employee motivation and how to navigate the management challenges regarding employee motivation in business. Very excited to be discussing this today. It's a bit different from our usual legalistic chats. But welcome, everyone. And without further ado, Jean-Ray, welcome.
Sorry, forgot to unmute there. Thank you very much, Cole. Glad to be here.
Yeah.
Glad to be discussing something a little bit different, not our normal run-of-the-mill legalistic training. So yeah, looking forward to today. Thanks for having me.
Pleasure, Jean-Ray. Always excited to be having these discussions for you and for the benefit of the audience today. Jean-Ray has also completed a postgraduate in business administration, which I'm sure we'll build on now, but that sort of inspired this discussion, which we'll be having now. Before we begin, just wanted to housekeeping things from me. We are streaming live on various multiple platforms, so your YouTube, your Facebook, and your LinkedIn. You can tune in on your PC or on your phone. It is free for attendees. These sessions are also recorded for everyone, so if you have to go mid-session or if you want to access it later, it will be available on CEO social platforms, on our LinkedIn, Facebook, and YouTube pages. And then also, guys, we also encourage engagement via the comment section. So please, if you have any questions, any input, maybe you guys have some suggestions for us or something that you want to find out, please pop a question through on the comment section and we can address it as we go. These sessions are obviously designed for you as our audience. So we hope you guys enjoy it, and we would love to hear from you guys as well. Right, before we kick off, just one question from me. Employee motivation, Jean-Ray, why are we discussing this today?
Yeah, look, Cole, obviously, as we just said, we do focus a lot on legalistic training for our members. Obviously, being an employers organization, highly involved in, dispute resolution, collective bargaining, our interaction with members is very, not adversarial with them, but, adversarial with the two of us going forward, and putting the cases there. So we thought, why not shake it up a little bit? Just a caveat, I'm in no way an expert in employee motivation and management. I do have that postgraduate. Well, I have that diploma, but I'll invite anyone. If you study employee motivation and management skills and stuff like that, it's such an open and broad debate sometimes. So I'll invite anyone to reach out. My email address will be available at the end as well. If you guys want to discuss something, if you guys differ with some of my opinions, it's one of those type of trainings. So please, we want to hear people's opinions, and even afterwards when you're watching this, please comment in the comment sections on either platform, or as I said, send me an email so we can discuss it. But to come to the question, but why? Why are we chatting employee motivation today? Look, it's late in the year. I think everybody's tanks are getting empty. It's a difficult situation that we're living in for employees and employers alike. You've got interest rates that just don't seem to want to come down. The pinches everywhere. And I mean, that inevitably flows into your employment relationship, from a manager's side and an employee side. We're also obviously all coming down from that big sports win hangover. The entire country was enthralled with quite a bit of international sport for quite a long time, from the rugby to the Cricket World Cup. I mean, we had the Netball World Cup earlier. So, there's been a lot of distractions. But I mean, at this point now, we're moving into the end of the year. People want to go on holiday. Some people can't go on holiday. Some people are working. I mean, we ourselves have quite a few standby staff that I believe will be working hard during this period. So basically, we thought, let's have a look at employee motivation. It's also quite clear that, from next year, most of your university graduates that will be moving into the working sphere would have been born post Y2K, in the year 2000. And it's also where most of your managerial guys will still be millennials or Gen X's. So, just to prepare oneself for that as well, moving into the new year, how do I deal with these new employees also coming in? So that's why I thought, what an interesting topic let's discuss it and try and provide assistance to the managers and the owners of companies that are our members. So that's basically it.
100%. I actually just wanted to chip in there. So we're not talking about self-motivation of employees. We're talking about from a management perspective and what are the challenges. So that's what we'll be delving into today with Jean-Ray. Jean-Ray, what is a good starting point for employee motivation? Speaking of, coming from a new manager, possibly a CEO, or even an owner of a business.
Now, look, it's the basis would be trying to understand your employees, and we're going to go through a few tactics and techniques and theories during this training on how to approach that. But to understand that where are my employees coming from, what are their motivations, understanding that some employees won't be motivated within a work set. We always need to understand that there are employees that are there for the 8 to 5 to get their paycheck, and their motivation lies outside of the business opportunity or the business relationship, employment relationship, versus guys that are really motivated internally. So a good starting point is to try and understand that the workplace is changing, and I mean we've been preaching that now since pre-COVID. The workplace has evolved. And I think there might be a little bit of a stabilization as well. The pendulum went obviously to full remote, and the pendulum slowly coming back into a hybrid working place. And, just for managers to understand and owners, look, there's a lot of financial pressure on owners of businesses currently. There's a lot of pressure in regards to performance goals of managers currently. So just to understand that obviously all that stress that is there at the top, it's difficult sometimes to put yourself in the shoes of people lower down on the corporate chain. So a good start is to firstly know that you won't know everything. Secondly, to know not every employee's motivation, and every community and every different demographics motivation is the same, and to understand that trial and error might be your best friend moving forward.
100%. There's no one approach that fits all, and I know spoilers, we're going to be discussing a few different approaches to employee motivation on the next couple of slides. But before we get there, Jean-Ray, I just wanted to ask you, what is your personal journey of when you started caring about employee motivation, and why it actually matters to you as a national manager?
Yeah, look, I've been very fortunate, obviously, to be with CEO for quite a number of years currently, and I started as a provincial manager with a very tight knit group, and at some point you found the employee motivation quite easy to do. Obviously, with my move up to national manager, I got to interact with all the different, just within CEO, the different offices. And I was very fortunate, obviously, to be able to go and do this postgraduate. But, then being able to see, the different cultures that you have, not just in the different offices, but even in the different areas and the different towns, and also with the different age groups. So I was very fortunate. I went to go study, and I'm going to give my lecturer of leadership and management, Erika Botha, if she does come across this, a shout out. She really opened my eyes to the different types of theories out there and the different types of approaches. She used to use this term that we live in a VUCA world, and we have VUCA workplaces, which basically comes down, the acronym to, society is volatile, it's uncertain, it's complex, and ultimately ambiguous, and you need to understand, if you want to be doing employee motivation and client relations, whatever, you need to understand that, we live in a VUCA world, and you're probably living in a VUCA workplace as well. So that was where I was lucky enough to get my start.
Great. Thank you for painting that, I want to say, background for us. I think it's also important to understand where people are coming from, and I think that relates down from management down to all employees in the company. When it comes to employee motivation, I have a special graphic over here for our audience. There are different, physiological or psychological theories regarding employee motivation. Some of it is embedded in facts and obviously scientific research. Others remain as theories. But today I'd like to discuss one of the best known early theories of motivation. For those of you who don't know what you're looking at, this is a pyramid, Maslow's hierarchy of needs. And it's one of the best known theories, as I've said, regarding employee motivation. This is specific to individuals on a personal level and also applies to businesses holistically. So Jean-Ray is going to take us through it. So my question, Jean-Ray, is, can you please explain this to us? For people who haven't seen it before, maybe even some people who have a bit of knowledge about it, maybe if you can just elaborate on that. And double loaded question, but explain, why is it applicable to business?
Thanks, Carl. I think I might have leaded into the fact that, this is one of the theories. There's quite a few out there. It's obviously, and again, before all the MBAs jump on me, I know that there's no real empirical evidence, that this exactly works. The reason I like the Maslow theory, if I can abbreviate it like that, is it forms a very good base understanding for me and in my profession and how I've built up employee motivation, or attempted to build up employee motivation within our organization. And this is just one of those theories that I like. I know it's also very it's very popular amongst managers, especially newer managers and your middle senior managers, because it's quite clearly explains your need system, and it can also be adapted to be fit into quite a few systems. So basically what Maslow says is that every employee or every person is driven by need. And specific needs and going forward. So obviously they start with the physiological needs. We all need food, water, warmth, rest, to be sustainable. And those are one of the basic needs that leads into your safety needs as well. So, I mean, within those two needs, that's originally something that you want to find at home. One of the very first problems, and we'll discuss it a little bit now about the difference between the struggles managers have within certain economic situations, as well as cultural differences. Safety needs might be a problem, for a lot of South African workers, within their communities, within their living arrangements, everything like that. So, again, I said you need to understand your employee. We have entities that move, construction companies that move all over the country. So, which means you as a manager might have a specific group of people one day deep in the Northern Cape, and the next day you are somewhere down in the Eastern Cape. So what are those safety needs as well? And then after that, I think that's when managers can really start getting involved if you build up to the need. So everybody has this sense of belongingness. And obviously, everyone needs love as well. So it overlaps a little bit with your personal life. But, that sense of belonging within an organization. We always speak about organizational culture. And, you speak about the big guys, the Googles and that create this culture. Firstly, let me burst the bubble. Not everybody at Google loves working at Google. I can tell you that now. I think predominantly people love it. But, we'll get a little bit into those different, you have different individuals as well. But in base needs, people want to belong and they want to be within a specific culture. Then let's move from there. Now, once I now have, and let's take it from the employment perspective, I now have a culture. I now fit in at work. I'm happy at where I work. It's the water cooler talk is great. We're doing team build, stuff like that. Then what from there? Then obviously I have needs to obviously move forward within that organization. Where's the praise? Where's the recognition for the work that people put in? And how do I get rewarded within my employment relationship? Again, it's not always easy. We're talking about a theory, which it's difficult to apply. Well, it can apply in each sector, each demographic of your workforce, stuff like that. But obviously, in certain situations, it's more difficult to feed the esteem needs. If you look at a production floor with 2,000 employees, it's difficult to be able to motivate everyone. And then finally, you want the self-actualization. You as and this is extremely high with professionals. You want to achieve your goal. You've set off in a career, you've studied, you want to be moving forward and to ensure that you actually reach your full potential within your within your work. So that is basically just a breakdown of the breakdown of what Maslow means, and that every person is based on this pyramid of needs that you need to build up and move forward. Yeah, so we can also go, and I don't want to get too much into the scientific terms, but the lower order ones is obviously more of a externally driven. So my physiological needs, safety needs, is very driven from external factors. So it's not really something controlled within. But when you move into the higher needs, that's obviously internal things. So that's when you get into the psyche and the motivation of employees, and where you really need to delve into each one of those people. I think just the follow-up question, how do we? I think it was, how do you implement it? Or
no. How is it applicable to? How is it applicable to business? So we're speaking about this pyramid now and the order of priorities. Why is it applicable to business? Why is it applicable to employee motivation?
Yeah, look, it's applicable because, as I said, you need to understand your employees. And I mean, if you look at the theory of what is needed, one needs to make sure that you have these needs met. So if you want to have a highly productive employee with high motivation levels, then you need to ensure that these internal factors that an employee needs to be met in order for them to move forward. On the other hand, there's also, there's also always another side to the sword. It's always a double-edged sword. Maslow's also of opinion that once a need is met, and you can no longer, an employee is no longer going to be motivated beyond that point. So once the prestige and the feeling of accomplishment has been met, then my esteem needs are met. Then there's no more drive there. And what now the practical problem is let's say you have an employee and they're working hard for a promotion, their productivity is high, the engagement is high, now they get the promotion. So in Maslow's theory, he says, well, then that's that. Once that employee has reached that need, he will no longer be motivated. But there's a bunch of other theories that you can also now incorporate there. Where I don't really always agree with Maslow.
I think just for me to chip in there, I'm of a different view. Yes, I agree that these needs to be met, but from a business perspective, these needs arise every day. If I have safety and security within my job, it might not be the case tomorrow. So that needs to be met, that need needs to be met tomorrow as well. Yes, you get your promotion, and maybe there's a lack of motivation because now you've got what you've set out to achieve. But there's a constant need. And I think that also might intrinsically come from within the employee as well to set their own needs. It's not just for the business to set the motivation, but also from the employees themselves. But thanks for that, Jandre. So Maslow is one of many contemporary theories. Why did you specifically choose this one? Or why is this one the best fit for what we're discussing today?
Now, look, again, it's dealer's choice. It's obviously one of those theories that I was able to implement within our own organization, and use it as a practical example. Look, you get McGregor's theory. He's got an X and a Y theory where he asks in his X theory that you must always assume that employees don't want to work and they don't want to be motivated, versus a Y theory of they always want to go. And we can go through these names, about Herzberg's theory about eccentric and intrinsic motivating factors. We'll touch a little bit on that when we speak about the cultures, because they identify certain, or he in his theory identifies certain elements that will always probably be demotivating, and ones that will always be motivating. And then you've got McCullen's 3-need theory. McCullen's, sorry. As you can see, it's very Europe heavy on the theories of motivation. But he theorized that people need three things: one achievement, one power, and one affiliation. And that managers are divided into those, at least one or two of those three groups. But why the Maslow one? I think that is for an entry-level manager that's trying to understand his employees. I would advise this one, and then obviously you fill it on with other other employee engagement as well. I'm again going to say we need to understand that not all employees will be motivated. And it's not really about the unmotivatable employee. It is about the rest. The bulk of your workforce would want to be within that company culture. But again, you cannot change a person's perspective that just wants to work to get the paycheck so they can be motivated by their external activities.
I think what's important for business owners or management is to create an environment where these needs are provided for, whether the employee themselves chooses to partake or to, make the most of what's provided to them. That's up to each individual employee. You can't please everyone. But John, no, thank you for that, Chandre. So all of this, actually, I want to say it's all theory, but something that I want to do is take it a step further is, how do we integrate that into the workplace? Now we have this theory. What is your opinion, or what are your insights for management and owners in implementing this in the workplace?
Yeah, look, again, and I'm sounding like a record that's hooking here. You need to understand the needs of your employees. So you need to really invest in investigation of where your employees are coming from. I used the example just now of construction companies that move around in the country, and it's very highly probable that those employment spheres there will be appointed out of the community around. So understand where your community is coming from, understand your community's problems as well, where your workforce comes from. Then, most people take up employment to succeed, and I just said it. Most people are actually there to move forward within their career, to build something up, to, even if it is just to build up salary. So understand that most employees are motivated there. Don't be marred by the one or two that and there's a nice video about employee engagement that we can maybe share in the post, in the comments later, where it clearly sets it out. Some people are rowing the boat, some people just sit in the boat, and some people are trying to hold the boat back. So understand that it's not for every employee. And once employment starts, make sure that you set goals. And we spoke just now, and you mentioned it about those people you disagreeing with Maslow, and I agree with you now, that just make sure that there is a goal that you guys are working to. So make sure that people know where are we working to. Be transparent about that goal. Again, I said, it's easy to fall within your own little world as a manager as well, or as a owner as well. Everybody's got their own problems, but make sure that we all have a goal, and then create a framework for that progress. So it's not just, listen, this is how many boxes we need at the end of the day. This is how we are going to get to those many boxes a day. This is what I need from each one of my individuals, each one of my subsections of manufacturing. Make sure that there are clear goals and a proper framework to do that within, because as we'll chat later again, intrinsically people want to succeed in what they do, and they want to be good at their job and receive that job satisfaction. So that would be my advice on implementing it.
Yeah, I think something just from my side that I've seen what we implement within CEO specifically is, and I'll use myself as an example, the moment I understand why we're doing something with an open line of communication and that transparency as you spoke about, I'm immediately more motivated to achieve whatever the goal is that we set out to achieve, because I understand the process. It's not just an instruction, if I can put it like that. So that's just my 2 cents on that. Jean-Ray, so looking at South Africa specifically, because obviously, we are specifically talking to the employers of South Africa and the businesses of South Africa. We are living in a struggling economy at this stage. And I can think of a few challenges, that we as business owners or our members deal with on a day-to-day basis. But how does that factor in with the employee motivation? I mean, you have these external factors like the economy, a struggling maybe business moving forward. How can employees be motivated in this economy?
Yeah, look, that's difficult, né? Because your base would always be pay more money. It's difficult within a struggling economy because it's not always easy to give the monetary reward basically for it. And if you go and look at the studies, it's very clear that predominantly employees want to feel important within the jobs that they are doing. So, what can managers do? Obviously, have regular meetings. Make sure that these meetings are structured and are valued. There's no point in we're post COVID in this hybrid world. Everything's a meeting. Not everything needs to be a meeting, but have regular meetings with your employees. Make sure that they understand the structure. Make sure that they understand where we're going. Keep the lines of communication open to say, listen, guys, this is where we're sitting. This is the type of scenario we might be in, and this is how we will be moving forward. And get employee inputs. You wouldn't believe the ideas and inputs that you can't use all of them. Not everybody can have a seat at the table, but engage on micro level with certain employees in certain sections. If you have an individual, and they mention it a lot in the book, The Goal, where remember the guy who's been running a specific division in your business for 20 years. He might know a little bit more about how to make that more efficient. So make sure that you're interacting with those individuals. Make sure that they know, that their opinion is valued, and where it is something that really does assist the company and its growth, productivity, inevitable profit margins, give the necessary recognition there. And then all you can also do is try and create that community feel. It sometimes helps for individuals who are on the same position to be able to bounce off of each other, even if it is just a, hey, how are you doing? I know it's not great, or that personal interaction. So try and create communities within your work spot, and that is how the only way you can drive guys, unfortunately, in the economy, is to make sure that one, there's transparency, so it's not always us against them, employees, and there's management and they're making the big bucks. Make sure that you're transparent at what is the financial situation. Your base employee doesn't know about extended overdrafts and business loans that need to be taken out. I'm not saying open your books to them, but make sure that the guys know that everybody's fighting in the economy, and this is what we're trying to do for you, and create a community where those people can feel that they're part of a specific culture.
Yeah, that community, I think, ties into one of the levels of Maslow's pyramid, is that feeling of belongingness within your company, even through struggling times, bonding with your fellow colleagues and getting motivated on the fact that we all in this together. Speaking of Maslow as well, the first two levels of the pyramid deal with, food and security. And I think in a struggling economy, that also hampers those two needs. If those needs are being met, then you can move high up onto the pyramid. So it's just something that, managers and management of businesses in South Africa should take cognizance of. But just for time purposes, Jean-Andre, I'm going to move on. So we've touched on the struggling economy. When it comes to cultural differences and having different types of employees within a company, or let's call it unique groups of employees, how do you navigate that when it comes to motivation? Because not everyone is motivated by the same things.
Yeah, that is true, né? And it's something we've said the whole time, and we started off with, why are we doing this? You've got different generations coming into the workplace. You've got various different cultures. These days you have many cross cultures, at play in your office. And if you have, like us, with a national footprint, you even have the geographical cultures, where different people are motivated by different things. So again, employee motivation is not a one-size-fits-all type of thing, but studies have shown that there are at least three things that are common over all employee grades, and they weigh pretty much the same as well. Look, obviously the studies were done in the United States, Canada, Australia, and Singapore. This exact study that I'm talking about, but I mean that can transcend. And if I look at Maslow's needs list, and if I look at my own experience within our organization and what employees might want to need, is one is growth. People want to move forward within their careers. They want achievement, and ultimately they want responsibility. That's one of the things. And I spoke about is it Herzberg's two-factor theory. If you look at things that are always going to extremely dissatisfy, I'm not saying stop doing them all. I'm saying that is just one of the factors or some of the factors that affect employees negatively is extreme supervision, incorrect company policies, a lack of relationship with your peers, people that are status driven, that are above you, a lack of security and safety. Where I was listening about a horrific mine accident that happened, I think yesterday or few days ago, where a lift taking employees up out of the mine just inexplicably fell 200 meters, and causing 11 people to pass away. But again, condolences to those 11 family. But if you take a factor like that, factoring it into the safety of the other employees and how their motivation is going to be, you need to try and steer away from things like that. What people really, the extreme motivators that they have is achievement, recognition, work itself. Do I enjoy my job? Am I good at my job? Am I being trained in my job? And as I said, achievement and growth. One needs to understand that those things will always, doesn't matter in what culture, those type of things will always motivate employees more than extreme supervision. I cannot trust you, that type of hierarchy. So those are the things you need to steer clear from, and the things you need to try and build on for cultural difference.
I think specific to South Africa and the needs of employers here, I think inclusivity regarding different cultures within a workplace will also play a big factor. I don't know, maybe your opinion on that?
Sorry, just repeat again. You just broke up.
Sorry, apologies. I said inclusivity in South Africa specifically when it comes to workplaces. Where would that factor in? What is your opinion on that? If I can just get your quick opinion.
Yeah, no, look, obviously you want to include, everybody's talking about squishing down the hierarchy of businesses, and making sure that the lines to decision makers aren't that difficult. So inclusivity is obviously something that you always need to strive for, and you need to ensure that you create that type of space for people to move around in. So obviously within our culture and within our country, it's very important.
100%. Thank you, Jean-Andre. When it comes to recognition programs, and I know we headed off to the last bit of our discussion today, what's your opinion on recognition programs? Can they be used within a workplace? Should they be used?
Yeah, look, I see our time constraint is going to kick in. So I'm going to move a little bit quickly through this. Look, recognition programs and pay for performance programs can work. I think what you need to firstly do is, again, transparency. So employees need to know what is going to happen, what are my goals, what are the rewards that will be effective. And I think one of the biggest issues with these type of recognition programs, especially when you come to a monetary value, is once something has been promised, you cannot back out of that and still allow employee motivation. So you need to, when you do look at recognition programs, and I'm now hampering on the pay for performance one because that's usually the one that people go to. You need to make sure that you have done your financial planning, you have done the necessary research, because you cannot at the back end get out of that pay for performance thing. So basically, it's a system that can work. Most recognition programs can work. If you do have a internal social platform, giving people recognition there for their achievements will always work. So yeah, they can work. but make sure that they are well structured. You are transparent in how it's implemented, and that employees know, once I've reached this will be the reward. And again, once a promise has been made, you cannot back out on that promise and still think that employee motivation is going to be up there.
100%. Chandra, just 2 more questions from my side. I apologize to you for keeping you longer than I booked you for, but just for our audience as well. I've read a lot of different articles and watched the TED Talks regarding it, but there's a question that I think most people have to deal with when you get to that threshold. Is it all about the money when it comes to recognition? I'm thinking remuneration versus benefits, versus culture at the workplace.
Yeah, look, I don't think so per se. But again, it all depends on what your base movement is. If I'm going to speak about, and South Africa it's a difficult country, and the economy is difficult and stuff like that. But there is certain growth in certain sections. So you have kids from the rural areas going to university now, which is obviously bills that the parents need to foot. So for an individual like that, yes, it is about the money. That's what I now need to build my family forward. And I think that will, as the profession grows and as people's positions grow, that will change. I think once the initial needs have been met, to now steal from Maslow again. So once those needs have been met, safety, food, my family, the love within my family. Once that structure has been built and that those needs have been satisfied, I don't think it is always about the money. Yes, we all need money. It's the old saying, you work to live, you don't live to work. It is, we all go home to our families afterwards. You want to enjoy that time, and having a financial burden over your head every night is always going to affect your family life. But from there, I think it develops into more things than that. It develops into culture, sense of belonging, being part, and I'm going to pitch CEO as a brand again, being part of that brand, being part of that development. When people see it, that type of achievement also motivates people quite a bit. So yes, sometimes all about money, but I don't think always. No.
I definitely think remuneration or money is a factor to a certain threshold, where once those needs have been met on an individual level, it becomes less important. There, I think, how is it lacquer going to work, or do you hate your job and you just love the paycheck kind of thing? I think those factors play a bigger role later on. Last question for you, Chandra. As the national manager of CEO, what do we do at CEO to motivate our employees? And maybe there's a tip or 2 that we can leave with our audience today.
Yeah, look, as I said, a lot of, there's different levels of employee motivation. Obviously, we have a national footprint. It's not always easy for individuals or senior management to always be everywhere. So, what we've tried to do is obviously instill good motivational tactics within our leaders within the specific regions. So make sure that your people are equipped. And that they know how to motivate employees. So that's the first thing we try and do. Second thing is, we're also very lucky to have almost more of a social intranet type of thing, and we try and give people recognition where it's due. Where an individual has done a impressive job or has met a performance goal, we try and acknowledge that. Within our financial means, we try and reward that as well. From people who have been here long to maybe, people doing the most type of cases and stuff like that, building those type of things. So we try and tailor make that. We try and create cultures where people want to work. More difficult in some regions than other, but that's what we try and install in CEO, and that's what I think people should do. Make sure that your people are equipped and that people know what the end goal is going to be. So that's basically from our side.
Thank you, Chandra. Just one last thing from my side. I think, employee motivation is a trial and error exercise. Whatever works for one business might not work for another, but it's important for management to create that environment, to use the tactics that they have and the resources that they have to create an engaged and motivated workforce. Just a parting comment from myself. regarding CEO. I was employed at CEO during COVID, and something that I can give kudos to management on was the engagement and the activities that we got to do as a team during that time, sitting at home online. That's something that stands out to me. I think it also makes a difference when it comes to personal motivation in the long run. But Jandre, thank you for your time today. I really appreciate you being here, and sorry for keeping you longer than I booked you for. I hope the audience enjoyed our conversation today. Please feel free to drop a comment or anything from your guys' side when it comes to how we can improve in future. Training in 2024, we're looking at doing these on a consistent basis. So if you guys have any feedback from the audience, we would happily take some criticism and feedback. We want to improve. We want to give you guys content that you guys want to watch and that you guys are interested in listening to. So we are open to suggestions. And thank you so much from CEO side for attending these training sessions, and stay tuned for our schedule for next year. Just a parting gift as well. There's a QR code on the screen there. Feel free to scan it. You will be able to scan it from the recording as well. It is just a little gift from CEO to our members and to our audience that watch these sessions till the end, which is why we place it here. And then if you have any questions or comments or anything that you want to get clarity on, you can pop us an email. Our contact details are also on the screen. From CEO side, thank you guys so much, and good luck and enjoy the festive season that's coming. Thank you, everyone.
Yeah, thank you very much, Cole. Goodbye, everyone. Thanks.